One day, in the northern tundra, where snow lies indefinitely and the air reeks of deep winter cold, an unexpected sound pierced the silence. A group of passersby, locals from a neighboring village, were walking along the path, wrapped in thick coats against the icy wind when they heard it, the weak and desperate cry of a young animal. Following the sound, they came upon a heart-wrenching sight. At the edge of a clearing, partially buried in the snow, a bear cub was tangled in barbed wire. The animal struggled weakly, its fur snagged and torn by the sharp metal, its small body trembling from fear and cold. The scene was dire. The cub was exhausted, and time was running out. The group hesitated, scanning the surrounding area. A bear cub never wanders far from its mother, and in the vast expanse of the tundra, an encounter with an angry adult bear could be fatal. But the forest was silent, and there were no tracks nearby. Only the frantic cries of the cub broke the calm. One of the passersby stepped forward cautiously, signaling the others to stay back. Their breaths hung in the frigid air as they moved closer, assessing the situation. The barbed wire was an old remnant, likely left behind from some abandoned outpost or fence, long swallowed by the harsh landscape. Now, it was a deadly trap for this young bear. The cub flinched and whimpered as the group approached. Its hind leg and chest were tightly wrapped in the wire, and every small movement only drove the sharp barbs deeper into its fur and skin. Blood had begun to stain the pristine snow beneath it. "We need to act fast," one of them muttered, their voice muffled by the thick scarf wrapped around their face. "It won't survive much longer like this." Another person produced a pair of wire cutters from their pack, a tool they'd brought for mending sled equipment. They worked together, moving slowly and speaking softly to avoid startling the cub further. The first task was to calm the frightened animal. One of the passersby removed their thick jacket and carefully draped it over the cub's head, shielding its eyes from the approaching hands. The cub froze, its cries quieting to soft whimpers. It was as if the young animal understood they were trying to help. With steady hands, the person with the cutters began snipping through the rusty wire. It was slow, painstaking work. The wire had become embedded in the cub's fur, and each cut had to be made carefully to avoid causing further injury. The icy wind howled around them, and frost began to form on their gloves. The minutes dragged on, but finally, the last loop of wire was cut away. Carefully, they removed the barbed strands, freeing the cub at last. For a moment, the little bear didn't move. It lay in the snow, trembling and exhausted. Then, as if sensing its newfound freedom, it tried to stand. Its first attempt was shaky, but it managed to rise on unsteady legs. Just as the group began to feel relief, a low growl rumbled from the edge of the clearing. Everyone froze. A massive figure emerged from the shadows of the snow-covered trees. The mother bear. She stood there, her dark eyes fixed on the humans and her cub. The tension in the air was palpable. The group remained perfectly still, hearts pounding in their chests. They knew running wasn't an option. It would only provoke her. The mother bear let out another growl, this one softer, almost questioning. Her cub, now able to move, let out a small cry and began limping toward her. The mother stayed where she was, watching intently as her cub closed the distance. The group slowly backed away, giving the bears space. The mother nudged her cub gently, inspecting it with soft grunts, before turning to lead it back into the safety of the trees. As the two bears disappeared into the snowy forest, the group exhaled in unison, their breath visible in the freezing air. The rescue had been dangerous, but it was worth it. They stood there for a moment longer, surrounded by the vast, frozen expanse of the tundra, before turning back toward the village. The bears were gone, but the memory of that day would stay with them, a reminder of the fragile connection between humans and the wild in this unforgiving landscape.